All right, so let's say your friends want to put together a band and you want to join, but you don't play an instrument. What is there to be done? Well, although drummers often get a bad rep for not being musicians, playing a drum set is very complicated, and the bass guitar is actually, in my opinion, the easiest to approach. It's the easiest instrument in a typical band instruments to to pick up and play. It doesn't mean that the best bass players are not talented. They very much are, but um, to play along with a basic rock style song on the bass is quite simple. If you're not wanting to do anything fancy. So first of all, I'm going to show you. Come down here to this end. So the body of the bass here, these are the pickups. Okay, this is where the sound from the vibrating strings is picked up. Hence the name. You typically want to pluck the strings of the bass over the pickups. So right around here. It's a great place to start. Once you get better, you can play around with playing it lower or higher, but let's start here. The other benefit of the pickup is you can prop your thumb against it. And that can give you some leverage in order to play the strings. Now, the strings of the bass are very thick, and they take some strength to manipulate them. It's not hard to pluck it and get a sound out of it, though. For what we're doing here, you want to use the pad of your finger, hook it on the string like this, and just pull until your finger slides off and the string vibrates and makes the sound. You hear that? Okay. Doing this in time with the music is the part that matters, and you'll get better at that as you play around with it. I will note you will want to keep your fingernails short, because if you don't, sometimes when your finger slides off, your fingernail will catch on the string, and that will throw your rhythm off, because it'll vibrate the string just a fraction of a second too late, and it won't sound right. So if this is the style you're going for, you'll want to keep your fingernails short. Okay, so for what we're doing today, we're going to be plucking two of the strings, this one and this one. Okay, the thickest string, which is the one that's closest to you, like upward, and the second one going down. All right, so we're going to pretend like these two strings don't even exist. We're not going to use them at all. So we'll use this one and this one. Okay, you can hear the difference in sound. All right, now as far as the notes to play, slide back on over here. All right, so on the neck of the bass, you'll see at the top there's this little bar here that holds the strings in place. It's called the nut, and you can see there are these dots going down. Okay, the dots help you have a reference what note you're playing. So these metal lines are called frets, and when you push down the string, and the string is held against the nearest fret. Okay, so this is when I push down here, it pushes the string down against the fret below, toward the bottom of the guitar, and that is the one that determines what note plays. Okay, now if I press it here or if I press it here, it's going to play the same note. Anywhere in between these two frets, this fret is the note that's going to sound. Okay, so that's how you know and keep track of what note you're playing. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques in kind of like tricks in starting off with the bass. So the bass strings, as I mentioned, are very thick, and they're difficult to manipulate at first when you first start. So there's two tricks in helping with that. One is to hold it down as close to the fret as possible. If you hold it up here, you're gonna get, do you hear that ugly sound, that buzz? That's because I'm not holding the string down hard enough. But really, it's because if I just slide my finger down right above the fret, then I get a nice clean sound. You just have better leverage there. Um, so you get a better sound. Okay. The other trick, as you see I'm doing here, when you first learn, you're probably always going to use your index finger to hold the string down. Later on, you may use other fingers, but for now, if you're still having trouble with the buzzing, like this, you can lay your middle finger down on top of your index finger and press down. That'll give you the extra strength you need to hold it down. This technique is probably frowned upon by a lot of bass players, but I'm pretty sure it's used by a lot of bass players as well. All right, so this is, at least when you start, eventually you're gonna wanna be able to use this finger, but right now, don't worry about it. All right, now if you remember, we're only gonna stick to these two strings. So I'm gonna show you the notes that you can play on these two strings, but what's more helpful is if you just find a bass fingering chart, and it'll just Google it, and you can find one online and print it out. That's what I did when I started playing the bass. It just tells you what note is on which fret and which string, and you can follow along. But I'm just going to show you real quick a good pattern to use when you're first starting. So we're going to only use these two thickest strings. So if we play the first string, the thickest string, without holding the string down at all, this is an E. If you hold it down on the first fret, it's an F. Third fret, which is the first dot, a G. All right, and that's as far as we're gonna go on the thickest string. So you got these three. I'll just go ahead and do it that way since I'm showing you. Okay, and then we're gonna move to the second thickest string. If you just play that open, that's an A, so that's the next note after this one, is the next string down without touching the string. Then we're gonna do the second fret is a B, then a C is on the third fret, the first dot, and then we're gonna move down 2 more frets to the second dot and play a D. Okay, now the next note after D in a typical, that you would typically need, is an E, and E is back up to the thickest string with no frets. Okay, so there you go. So that's all you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you've got it. Those are all of your, those are the notes you're gonna need for the bulk of your playing. Okay, so with those two tricks, you can play along with just about any song. If somebody can give you a chord chart, or you can Google one, that'll tell you what chords to play, and you're just gonna play the note of each chord. If it says an A chord, you play an A. If it says a G chord, you play a G. If it says an E minor, you play an E. That's the basics. The basics. Get it? So with that, you too can play the bass.